There we go. All right.
He just doesn't care.
We're rolling now.
We're rolling
officially on the live.
Yay.
Good morning.
I can feel it. I can feel that we're live.
Yeah. Oh, now we're live on Facebook too. Okay. And are we public?
One thing I regret is that there's a time that he made flamethrowers, and I don't know. I think they were like $500 flamethrowers, right?
The Boring Company.
The Boring Company flamethrowers, and I was like, I should order one, but I didn't. And they weren't expensive, you know.
And he just why did he make he just
because he could. Literally, it was because he could. So yeah, that's amazing. 20,000 people bought it. So there's 20,000 people that have Boring Company flamethrowers in their homes. That would be great to have right now.
Yeah, especially we're running out of toilet paper over here again.
Yeah, shoot.
Just light everybody on fire.
Yeah. There we go.
That's like a great thing to carry in like the grocery store, you know. Keep your social distance, have your flamethrower with you. Perfect.
Yeah, what would be the rules with that? Like, is it just like a gun?
It literally is shaped like a gun, and if you see people do it, it emits flames. It's not like a flamethrower that emits flames like all the way out, so it's not going to kill somebody like it's like 8 feet away from me.
Yeah, gigantic blowtorch, but
yeah, they're shaped like a gun.
What's funny is that it probably works a lot easier than like using a lighter, because you know a lighter has like the safety proof on it and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you the flamethrower, you just push a trigger button and it probably just be a great way to start your barbecue.
Seriously, it definitely would be.
Hey, how clutch were those Perfect Keto electrolytes during our run walks the other day?
Oh yeah, you need that kind of stuff when you're on the when you're on a diets like we are all the time. When you're not eating all them carbs all the time, it seems like the water just wants to run right through you, and so you need something for it to stick to. Even though I started to eat some carbs, the carbohydrate overall amount is still pretty moderate. I'd say 200 would be a lot for me in a day. So the electrolytes are crucial, having that potassium, sodium, and I think they have calcium, magnesium in there as well. Having that blend in there, having that mix in there is really important.
Yeah, and then now with the sun being out in Nsima, are you noticing that you're sweating? Obviously you're sweating a lot more, but how have the electrolytes been helping you out?
Same way that they have been the whole time, I fast a lot, so help me not to be able to cramp up during workouts. Just it's super beneficial.
Yeah, I know right now we're talking about the electrolytes, but literally everything that Perfect Keto has to offer with, it's an awesome way to get into a low carb or ketogenic diet. Right now we're talking about the electrolytes, but the nootropic is one of the best on the market.
They got yummy treats too, cookies and bars.
Yes, they have a little bit of everything. And then, like Mark has always said in the past, they don't use any artificial sweeteners. So if you're someone like me who has a sensitive stomach and some of that fake sugars have messed you up in the past.
Andrew can't even chew gum, ladies and gentlemen.
This is true. Yeah.
But you really can't?
Come on, man.
Okay, just making sure. You never know sometimes.
Yeah, but I'm happy to report that the treats and not even the MCT oil powder has jacked me up. So it just... Like I said, it's I don't know, they're doing something pretty awesome over there at Perfect Keto. For more information, please head over to perfectketo.com/power25 at checkout. Enter promo code Power Project for 25% off and free shipping on any orders of $99 or more. Elon Musk is on a HNL right now, though.
You know what's interesting to watch too is ESPN. I've been such a huge sports fan over the years that it's just my go-to. I don't watch it nearly as much as I used to. I could watch Sports Center just go on loop for the entire day back in the day. But it's funny to watch it now because they don't have really much to report on, so they can just report on speculation of this guy might get traded, and they're talking about Brady went to the Buccaneers and Gronkowski came back, and they just kind of keep cycling through kind of the same stuff, but they really don't have any. They don't have any content. They don't have anything. There's no games being played, so they got nothing to show over there.
Yeah,
Wait, Did like an NFL draft happen or no?
Yes, it did. Yeah, and I think it might be like over-ish. Yeah, I think it might be over.
Yeah, I heard it had like record views. Like usually like they have 6 million, but this time they were like 8 point something million views.
Wow.
Because of quarantine.
Yeah, I've been seeing the
maybe they is the NFL.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Conspiracy.
They are very powerful.
They are starting that virus, huh?
I kept seeing like the like way over the top produced cornhole like tournament thing. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah, I've seen it before. It's amazing.
Dude, that guy's legendary.
You know that they're also having an NBA horse tournament. Did you guys hear about that? It's like there's such limited things to do in sports that they're like, let's just play some fucking horse.
So Mark had mentioned that on a previous episode, and I thought you were talking about the old school, like Pistol Pete Maravich playing horse, like at an all-star game. I didn't know that they were actually going to start playing horse in the NBA.
It's kind of a cool idea. Like imagine if when we were kids, if we could have, well, Nsima's a lot younger, but you're both a lot younger, but imagine if you could play like horse with Jordan back in the day. You could follow along with a shot that he did. I mean, everyone was trying to do that anyway. Everyone would try to go. Anyone that's ever picked up a basketball has tried to, drive to the hoop and do like a layup and then come around the other side and like spin it off the backboard the way that we saw MJ do, so often. So I think it's kind of fun. I think it's kind of cool, and maybe it will encourage some kids to get outside or something.
Yep. Yeah, because like back in the day, they would like do like all kinds of weird, fun tricks, like behind the backboard, and then like it's got to bounce off of this wall, and it's got to do this, almost like the Michael Jordan Bird commercials.
Oh,
remember
amazing.
those?
Yeah, where they banked it off of everything, and yeah, that was sick.
It was for McDonald's. And speaking of Jordan, The Last Dance, dude, they got to the Rodman episode. How crazy was that?
I saw somebody put out some, I don't know, sure if it was a tweet or what. They said, could Rodman cover LeBron James? And then it kind of just started a big old thing. Rodman was like, he was an amazing defender, but like trying to cover LeBron James isolated, no, he wouldn't. He'd be able to cover him well. He'd be able to do really well against him. But LeBron James is impossible to shut down because he passes the ball a lot. So you can't really prevent someone from you can prevent somebody from shooting eventually if you can figure him out, if you're fast enough and quick enough, or if you're skilled enough to match up with them. But somebody that passes the ball, you can't. Like Magic Johnson, he was very difficult to cover. He was very difficult to get on. But Scottie Pippen did a really good job against him. But you have to be able to like defend everything if you're going to defend LeBron James, because that's what makes him special and makes him different. Is he's a combination. He's right down the middle between Jordan and Magic Johnson, which is just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I would also wonder like which era referees are we talking about here? Because if it's today's referees, Rodman would get thrown out in the first half. If it was kind of classic NBA, I think he'd have a better chance. But you're absolutely right. Nobody has ever been able to create their own shot like LeBron James. Nobody's been able to take over an entire offense like LeBron. But it would be, I mean, man, that would be a fun matchup to watch.
I think it was really funny how, like you mentioned, LeBron passes the ball, and I think it was Phil, like how Phil had to convince Jordan that passing, and trusting his teammates was going to be that thing that led into a championship. You know what I mean?
Like we're going to take this kind of high flying NBA stuff that we've been doing forever, and we're going to knock it back to like the 1950s. Where there was only white players on the court, and like it was all about like just ball handling skills and being able to pass the ball. Those old black and white videos.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy. Actually, I think I should know the guy's name, but I think the first African American drafted in the first round of the NBA passed away recently. It was like it came across the bottom of the screen. on ESPN the other day, and I was like, oh my God, that's a fucking crazy statistic. His name came across the bottom of the screen, or maybe they're bringing it up because there was draft stuff going on or something. But I was like, the first African American in the NBA. I'm like, that sounds so crazy to think about now.
Yeah, because go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because like the ABA, that was the other league, right? It was the ABA.
Yeah, right.
So when they joined, so I wonder like what year they're actually saying like was the official first like draft that he was drafted in or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and the NFL kind of had things like that too, where there was like kind of like minor leagues of the NFL, and MLB kind of had the same thing, and didn't accept African Americans for a while until people like Jackie Robinson came along, and until it was like it was just undeniable at some point.
Yeah, baseball has it, I think, the best, and I don't even watch baseball, but like the way that they have farm teams, I know the NBA now has the G League or the D League, whatever, or maybe they have both now. I think that's really smart because like we have the Stockton Kings and then we have the Sacramento Kings. Like how smart would it be to draft somebody, send them down to the G League, and then they come back ready to go? And Nsima, you were talking about a player that was going to go from high school straight to one of these leagues, right?
He's the number one high school pick. He's going directly to the G League, making $500K his first year. And then like that's so much better, like especially for a really talented kid, I think, than not getting paid, maybe getting full college tuition, going there. They're making money off of his jersey, off of him on like, all their like televised events. It's like, and he doesn't get a dime of that. Like even if let's say that he goes to the G League and he makes that $500K, right? And he chooses not to go to the NBA. Well, he could pay for college. He could pay for college if he wanted to. It's crazy.
I liked a lot of the stuff about Phil Jackson. I thought that was really cool how he studied like the Indians and stuff like that, and he brought a lot of that. He brought a lot of that Native American stuff into the basketball world, which was really, I just thought it was awesome. He's called the Zen Master for a reason.
Dude, I need to read his book. I know he has a book called like Zen and something, but like Phil Jackson is like the ultimate. You read the book?
No, I'm saying that's a good move. I didn't even think about reading that book.
Yeah. He's like the old.
Put it in perspective for a second. Phil Jackson has won, I think, like 11 or 12 titles if you count them all up from the time he was a player. He won 2 championships with the Knicks. He won a championship when he was a coach, like in another league. I mean, he just everywhere he went, he just kept winning, and then he won numerous championships with the Lakers and a bunch with the Chicago Bulls, which is that kind of stuff is I mean, Bill Belichick is kind of doing it in the NFL, but not to the same magnitude.
I think that's the reason why MJ listened to him though too, because he like, okay, if you're watching the documentary, I thought it was hella funny, right? Because he had that coach before Phil, his name was Doug. But when Jordan was talking about it, he's like, Dougie. Like you don't call someone that you respect Dougie. You don't. So I think Phil just came in. He's like, hey kid, I've won 2 rings. I've helped the team in Puerto Rico get a championship, or it wasn't the Puerto Rico, it was like the ABA or something, get a championship. If you want to actually win, you have to pass the ball. And I think that's why he was like, okay.
Yeah, and on top of that, Phil was a player. I don't remember if Doug Collins was if he was in the league or not, but I mean, it's crazy to think that he was calling Doug Collins Dougie, because he's like a very well-respected coach these days. But back then, he hadn't quite earned his stripes, at least I don't think. And it was just really like odd seeing how Krause and Phil Jackson kind of like not weaseled their way in, but like, yeah, like this is gonna happen. Like, sorry, Doug.
I love when they interviewed him, and they at the end of the game, and they were like, "Hey, coach, like, what was that play like?" And he was about to like spit some knowledge on them. You could tell his coaching brain was going. He was about to be like, "Hey, so yeah, we designed this, we set this up this way, and this guy runs this way, and this guy runs this way," and it's like, we just passed the ball to Michael. And then everybody in the press conference just started laughing their ass off.
Yeah, I've definitely changed my stance on, so like I'm a Kings fan, so watching the Lakers kick our ass for, whatever they're like 3 years straight. I'm like, dude, Phil Jackson's totally overrated. If I had Shaq and Kobe on my team, I'd be great too. If I had Jordan and Pippen, I'd be great too. But then seeing all the stuff that they did off the court to help manage some of these egos, some of these, yeah, there's no way that like a normal person would be able to even comb through all that. But then watching him like actually showcase that he is the Zen master, I'm just like, all right, like you still had Jordan and Pippen, you still had Shaq and Kobe, but you had way more substance than I was giving you credit for.
I think it was awesome to watch how he matured too, because you could see in the beginning, Phil Jackson was pretty fiery, and he was getting thrown out of games, right? And he was pretty fired up. But somewhere along the way, he must have learned that that's just not that stuff that we talk about here on this podcast. It's not helpful. Your emotions. I think like thousands of years ago, your emotions were probably really critical. Like if we were all like in a tribe and we all needed to like help each other, I think that, trying to figure out why someone's like sad is probably like a key component to the survival of everybody, and to try to lift somebody up in a way. And maybe it brings everybody closer together or something like that. But nowadays, I think that your emotions are, I think in some ways they're almost completely useless. They don't lead to anything. They don't usually lead to anything better. And I know that some people might not understand that, but I think as you get older, as you mature, you start to understand, maybe there is some truth to that. I know for myself, it's been really helpful. But to watch Phil Jackson and to watch him, go through all the games and go through the kind of the grind of everything, and have to like mentor all these people and coach all these people and handle it with such like poise the entire time was really awesome. I love the story about when he met Rodman. Rodman just didn't care, and Rodman's just like sitting down, and he's like, "Get up and shake my hand, and let's go outside, let's chat." Like that's what real leaders do. And I think it's really neat. I wanted to kind of dive into his book as well, and try to pick up some of the things that he's learned.
There was the thing I thought was really cool too. It was how you were mentioning how like he was managing egos, right? It was that game where I think it was versus like, I don't know if it was versus the Knicks or something. It was the Paxson thing that I mentioned, right? But instead of saying, "Hey Jordan, Paxson's open, you need to pass him the ball," he's like, "Hey Jordan, who's open?" And then Jordan came to the answer, "Paxson." And then immediately when he passed the ball to him and he saw that he could sink the shot, I feel like that was like the pivotal part for them, because then he was realizing, oh, okay. Because you remember that one clip where he was like, "I give the ball to like this one guy," and then they showed a clip of him like missing a 4-foot jumper, which was just like cold. You could realize that he still thought that everything needed to be on his back, but Phil let him come to that conclusion himself because he knew that he had the answer. That's just like, instead of telling someone like him, you let him figure it out himself. And I think that's like one of those little key things that he was really good at.
Yeah, and I think if we were on a team and you guys knew that I had trouble shooting, I would feel that, I would sense that, right? But if we had a different system where you're like, okay, we can get Mark open enough, we can get him enough space, like we know that when he shoots, he needs to go to like his left, and we know that he needs more room than other people because he doesn't jump as high or whatever when he does his jump shot. Like you learn all those things. And with the triangle offense, that's exactly what they would figure out, like how much space this guy needs, or what does this guy need to be able to be effective, to maybe even just pass the ball into the paint. But when you guys would pass me the ball, you'd have more confidence in me making the shot, and then I wouldn't have like little dinosaur T-Rex arms with my shot. I'd have some nice follow through because I'd be a lot more confident in myself. I know it's like some of these things are kind of weird, but if we're a team and you guys are feeling good about what I'm about to do, and I'm feeling good about what you're about to do, it makes it easier to beat the shit out of the other teams.
Absolutely. What I love about the documentary also, like, we had mentioned in the past, like, I didn't know anything about the Pippen drama. Like I'm just a kid watching Michael Jordan kick everyone's butt. And then now with Rodman about like, hey, like I need a 48-hour vacation in Vegas. I promise I'll be back on time. And then Jordan being like, you ain't gonna get him back. I thought that was crazy. Like mid-season, like that, just to be like, yeah, Rodman, just please come back on time, and then just cut him loose. Like that was incredible.
Now that's some parenting 101 right there. I mean, that's but you know, a lot of people wouldn't do it that way.
No,
a lot of people would say, dude, like, just wait till the season's over, you know, or wait, what, you know, they would say, you know, when it's convenient for them to just go do it. But he just knew that wouldn't work with Dennis Rodman. I mean, what a genius to just recognize. I mean, it sounds so simple, but just to recognize that each person is so different, and that Dennis Rodman was clearly in search of something completely different than everybody else. He had a very weird and different well, everyone has a different upbringing, right? He had a different upbringing, and I think that he never had a chance to be like loved or accepted. And then once he was loved and accepted for what he could do, I think that's probably very confusing to him. And they'll, you know, the other players on the team, they're like, he was like a 6 or 7 year old. Like he was not very like mature. And happens to a lot of like child stars and stuff where they get famous. And I mean, I could only imagine like that would be really difficult to, you know, I mean, I feel a small dose of that, and I'm not Dennis Rodman by any means. I just have a small following on the interwebs, right? But like, to just be known like as like a lifter, you're like, no, man, I'm not a lifter. I'm more than that. And people are like, nope, you're a lifter. You know, and same thing with Rodman. It's like, no, you're a basketball player, dude. Like, why is your hair all weird? Why are you talking about, you know, all these relationships with women, and why are you talking about, like, I remember he was being interviewed, and it probably wasn't Oprah, but he's being interviewed on a show like that, a very popular show like that. And they asked him about like homosexuality. And this is a million years ago, you know, this is a long time ago when people talked about it a lot less. And he said, well, he goes, what I think about that is, he's like, how do people know they don't like it? You know, like, how do people know? Like he said, people are just so scared of it and so unwilling to accept it. He's like, he was wearing a shirt too. I think it said, I'm not gay, but my boyfriend is, or something like that. Like, he was just so like kind of out there. But I think that that was great on Phil Jackson to say, hey, you know what? This guy is trying to explore himself, and shit, man, let's just let him do it. Let her rip. What's the worst that could happen? And the worst that could happen could be that he went to jail, or, you know, he did sound like he almost got suicidal and stuff, but like, you're not stopping that. You're not going to be able to stop that. So why not just whatever way you can figure out a way to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, go ahead and be yourself. We support that. And if things go too sideways, let us know so we can help you, you know?
Yeah, dude, it's like, I didn't realize, and I mean, I guess it's really sad, but I didn't know like how good of a player he was. And I think one of the really cool things in that whole situation when Phil like said, yeah, you can go, and then he was gone for 72 hours, is that Michael went personally to that hotel room to go pick him up. I think that's one thing that like kind of shows how much he knew he needed him, that he would go there. Because you know what's interesting, you said that he like probably didn't feel loved or whatever, or that he probably lacked that as a kid, but he did this 72-hour thing after Scotty came back, and then he was like, yeah, kind of felt like a third wheel. All right, yo, can I go take a break, please? You know, he wasn't feeling that importance. And then he's like, all right, peace. I got to go party. I got to go to my chick Madonna and have some fun. Or Carmen Electra at the time. Yeah. Bro, Dennis Rodman was that dude. I didn't realize that. He dated Madonna and Carmen Electra in the 90s. That's crazy.
I was going to say, like, dude, chicks were way into him, you know? Oh, did we lose Mark?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, there he is.
I'm
You're good.
Yeah, no, it was he was amazing with all that stuff. I think people were just drawn to him. You know, people were really drawn to Dennis Rodman. I think people are still today. I mean, he is like, he used to hang out with Kim Jong-un or whatever, right? Like
So
Dennis
weird.
Rodman is Dennis Rodman is different. Like he could be like the greatest terrorist and negotiator of all time, probably, because he could probably figure out a way. He probably can empathize with somebody so hard that he can like be on their side and probably have them come to their own conclusion. Because yeah, he really I think the stuff with Madonna is really cool. How like he said that when he was with Madonna, she would be like, hey, let's go do this, and he's like, we can't go do that, like you're like way too famous. He's like, I can barely get down the street sometimes. He's thinking, and she's like, oh no, they'll just shut the mall down, or they'll shut down like whatever. He's like, huh? He's like, no, he's like, you're full of shit. Like that's not going to happen. And then they would go there and there wouldn't be one person at whatever store they wanted to shop at or whatever, wherever they would go, they'd clear the whole freaking place out.
How great would it, like, I just thought of like the perfect match made in heaven. Dennis Rodman hanging out with Tony Huge.
Oh yeah, they would be boys.
They would get along. They would get along. Yo, if you guys want to watch something funny, type in how Dennis Rodman broke his dick 3 times.
Oh,
it's a hilarious video where he talks about how he apparently broke his dick during and it's hilarious. It's like it's not super graphic or anything.
I'm pretty sure he's made videos on that.
I don't think honestly that like there's anybody. Because yesterday I was trying to think of athletes. Are there athletes that like could compare to his eccentric, like, just personality nowadays, like back then? And I can't think of any. No one's controversial like he is.
There's people that have a lot of enthusiasm and stuff, but there's not anybody quite like him. There's some guys that are kind of like second and third tier players that have a little bit of that, I would say, but it's really rare to see it in like the absolute best. Usually the best people are so concentrated on being the best that they don't have space for anything else. But Dennis Rodman was like just a freak athlete. I mean, you heard what they said about when he came back to practice, how he was like out working everybody. And they were like, what the hell? I mean, that guy was just, man, he just was kind of like designed to do that stuff, man. He was in great shape all the time. And you hear these stories too about guys like Deion Sanders and stuff. And they were like, just let me know when the game is, man.
Yeah.
Like I like when the game is going, like I'll be more than fine, and then when they would play, they'd kick everybody's ass. And you're like, how does that make any sense? How do they not have to run and do all this other stuff?
Yeah, I think the only name that I can think of as far as on the court with like having a reputation, because like, you would see Rodman do like very minimal things, and then the ref was just like ready to give him a technical, ready to throw him out of the game. Like, what are you gonna do now, Dennis? Like, don't make me throw you out. And he's just like, dude, I'm just playing. Was DeMarcus Cousins. He had a really bad reputation where like they would basically just be ready to give him a technical foul like before he even got on the floor. And he only made it worse because he would always yell at the refs nonstop. And they're just like, we don't like that. Like, that's gonna stick with us. And he wasn't, I mean, obviously, again, Kings fan here, so he was like a top tier player on our team. Now he got injured and whatnot, but he was considered one of the best centers in the league at the time, and he was getting thrown out of games left and right. But as far as off the court, he didn't really have any issues or anything like that.
Yeah, Rodman was like having a Macho Man Randy Savage playing in the NBA. I mean, he was just wild, man. He went to the beat of his own drum, and I don't think you'll see another player like that. I think the only person that comes to mind right now is like Gronkowski, but like he's not really controversial. It's just like he just likes to have fun, and he's not really. Dennis Rodman is a weird one too, because I don't think he was like. There's some other players over the years that have been that way a little bit, where it seems like they're like defiant, and it seems like they're bad, and it seems like they're all these horrible things, but when it comes down to it and you talk to the players, it seems like the players are like, no, man, he was legit. Like he was like, he was like one of our best guys. You know, he was just very different, I think.
Yeah, even like Terrell Owens, right? Like he was kind of weird on and off the field, but he wasn't. I mean, Rodman was on H&L for sure.
Remember T.O. when he's working out outside of his house and he had like all the press there and everything. He's like banging out like push-ups and he's super jacked.
So jacked.
T.O., was he that guy who there's like a I don't watch fucking football. Was there a guy who there's like a news reporter was like interviewing him and the news reporter didn't know it was T.O.? Is that T.O.?
Could be. T.O. is, I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, but he says, "I love me some me." I'm pretty sure he invented that. I love me some me.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking. Okay, yeah. I know what T.O. is. Jacked.
Dude, so jacked. I remember when he played for the Cowboys, it was just I don't remember who he got in a fight with, but like, you know, he's in the hot tub and he's like, so I got up and I went so he's just naked. He's like, I got up, put my shoes on, and went after him. So he had some grip on his feet, so that way he could throw better punches.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, when God made some people, he just sprinkled a little something. Like when he made Rodman, he was like, I'm gonna put a little something in your lungs. When he made Jordan, he was like, I'm gonna put a little something in your Achilles tendon so you can jump higher. I don't know. It's just it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, I've heard from one of my friends said that his buddy was like in really good shape. His buddy was super smart. He graduated from a amazing college and he just had everything. He was wealthy. He was in good shape and everything. And so he said, when God had us like on an assembly line, he would be like, oh, I'm going to give this guy strength. And then the next guy would come along. Like, I'm going to give this guy strength. He's going to be in good shape, but he's going to have a small dick. And then to go like the next guy, like, all right, he's going to be really smart, but he's going to have a giant dick, but he's going to be kind of fat. And then like go to the next guy. And he said, like, when he put my friend together, it's like, he said, Mrs. God said, hey, did you take out the garbage? And he said, what? And he turned around. And when he turned around, he put a big dick on the guy that's good looking and smart.
He just got everything. Oh, man.
I was like, hey, you never know, man. Maybe that is the way it happened. Like, whoops, I made someone perfect by accident.
Yeah, so, dude.
Speaking of having everything, Mark, you're having carbs now. Alex is asking you how you feeling.
I feel good. You know, I'm it's kind of nice to be able to just make up some rice or something like that. I find that I'm eating more, which I think is good. I think it's good for me, especially with like the running and stuff that I've been doing. So I have those like rice packets that you just pop in the microwave for 90 seconds. And I was looking at the like amount of carbs that are in there. And because I don't eat carbs, I'm like looking at it and I'm like, man, that's an awful lot of carbs, like 70 carbs or something or whatever. And I eat about half of it. And I just look at it and I'm like, I need to eat the other half of that.
Yeah. And don't give away your secret recipe about the burnt rice. That was delicious.
Yeah. Wasn't that good?
It was so good.
You didn't even burn it on purpose, right?
The sticky rice.
Yeah. So when we were podcasting before the Thor podcast, Mark put some rice on the stove, and then halfway through, he was like, "Oh shit!" And he burnt a little bit of it. And as we're eating it, we're like, "This tastes delicious." It was like almost like popcorn.
Yeah, it was awesome. Throw some salt on there, and you're good to go.
Yep.
Man, I'm looking at. I just looked up some of the principles of the Zen master of. Phil Jackson, and it said that he won 11 rings. I don't know if those are all in the NBA, probably. Mm-hmm. Just absolutely ridiculous. But it basically talks about sharing authority and not being a control freak. So I think that that Dennis Rodman analogy is a really good, or example is a really good one, where he just said, yeah, just go for it. He tried to put some sort of restriction on it because he probably knew that he was going to be gone for more days than they even talked about, but that's a good example. Another thing they said is treat wins and losses the same. And you see that from a lot of coaches. whether you win or lose, you're still going to point out probably the ways that you could get better. So that would be the same either way. I shot a quick little video yesterday of just, I was training with those Havoc triads yesterday. And I said, before quarantine, it was me versus me. And after quarantine, it's the same. That's what it's for me. It's just about, trying to make my own improvements, and the quarantine, hasn't changed anything. He also talked a lot about, I know that this is a big thing for him, is like pre-game, like rituals, like pre-game, like traditions and things like that. And I think that those things are great, especially when you have a team. It's kind of cool when you got a team, you got a squad, and everybody just makes you feel good. And I think makes you comfortable, getting into a routine makes you comfortable.
Yeah, the pregame ritual makes so much sense though. It's like, like lifters have pre-gym rituals before they lift, but if you have something that you do consistently, that's different before you go in and lift, or before you go in and compete, it's like it gets the mind knows, okay, it's time to do this. Let's get all these processes rolling. So that's a super smart thing. I think it's a super smart thing to do.
This is something I've heard talked about by other practices as well. And, you'll see a lot of this. You'll see a lot of commonality when it comes to stoicism and things like that. And there's a reason why you see this to be pretty common across the board, is because these things can be really effective. This one's talks about using symbols and using spirituality. So you can that could go a bunch of different directions, but something that has kind of helped me is I've always been a big Bruce Lee fan. So if I think about like, I have a lot of friends who say, oh man, I'm swamped, I got so much to do. And I've always hated that. I'm like, why do you have so much to do? Why can't you figure out a fucking schedule that allows you to get through everything that you're supposed to get through, and just get through it? What is this being swamped bullshit? I always think it's a cop out. You should never have so much to do that you can't get it done. It literally makes no sense to me. But one way I have kung fu'd my way out of it is to think of Bruce Lee. When I think about that image of Bruce Lee had a lot of people coming at him at one time, right? And it's a movie, so he could do whatever he wanted. But he would just hit somebody once and they would they'd be gone. You don't know if they died. You don't know what happened to them, but they normally didn't come back unless it was a guy towards the end of the movie. Then he'd have to put multiple moves on him. But I always kind of thought of that, like whether there's something in front of you, or there's something behind you, or there's something to the side of you, you can get it all done. Just Bruce Lee it, like have a good technique, be quick about it. So I think this is an interesting thing that could maybe help other people, is try to find a symbol. It doesn't have to be somebody that fights necessarily, but try to find a symbol or a person or something that you can identify with that can help you through whatever situations you feel are tough, and it can kind of refocus you. It makes me kind of almost smile or laugh when I think like, oh man, like everyone at some point will feel that sense of being overwhelmed. You'll have the little butterflies for a second there, but the second I feel that, I'm like, all right, Bruce Lee. Time to Bruce Lee that shit. Time to flow like water and get this shit done.
It's just like complaining too. That's one thing that I watched this video. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was on a Tim Ferriss show years ago, and somebody was on, I think, and they're like, there's just no reason to ever complaining about anything. And then from that point, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna catch the way I talk about things. I'm gonna make sure that nothing that I say is like me stressing about something, complaining about something, whining about something. Like, I'm just not gonna do that anymore. And it's like, I can't remember. I just like, and now when I hear it from other people, I'm super receptive, because it's like, wait, what? I'm not mean about it, but I'm just like, wow, actually, since I made a point not to do that anymore, you can hear that shit.
Yeah, that, and then like Jocko with extreme ownership, same thing. Like when I hear somebody say like, oh, it's not my fault, it's because this and that, I'm just like, man, come on. Like you can own it. Like it's not the end of the world if you admit that you made a mistake, or you didn't come through because you just didn't come through, not because X, Y, and Z happened. Like playing the victim, like I think is one of the weakest things like ever. So like owning it is like it's huge. It's very important for me when, like, you know, if I'm working with somebody and I can see right away that they're like making up excuses for why they didn't get the job done, you know, and then eventually over time, I think everyone will eventually get better. But that's something that's, I think, really important that people need to focus on, is like not complaining, like you said, and not playing the victim.
Guys, I gotta go take a. It like hit me.
You got the wave?
I gotta go, guys. I'll be right back. Okay.
It's not the first time.
All right, let's time him. Go for it.
And gun.
So he's leaving the poop, and it's 8:08 in the morning on a Thursday. I predict that he'll be back sometime next Tuesday. Now he'll probably be pretty quick. He's a quick dumper.
He is. I have a hard time like trusting people that can poop like under 5 minutes. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I think you forgot something in there. Forgot to wipe a couple times, whatever it may be.
Yeah, like you definitely messed something up, because how could it just rocket out of there so quickly?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also you got to make sure that everything's out, right? Like, because sometimes it's not as bad as throwing up. Like, throwing up is really horrible. You throw up and then you're like, oh my God, I should have stayed in there longer, because now I need to go barf all over the place again. But it's like, yeah, you have that. You kind of have a first and second wave even just while you're sitting on the toilet.
Definitely. Yeah. I will read something and I'll just like tell my fiance, I'm like, I was pooping literally the whole time. Like, there was not one like unused like second of pushing out poop. It's really impressive.
She needs to know that too. Back to this the complaining. I've heard the other day a great quote, and it was never be overheard complaining, especially from yourself. And I was like, damn. Those are some tough rules to follow, you know, but stuff I've been working on, and I don't know, maybe people have been picking it up on my Instagram and my YouTube channel and stuff like that, is you know, kind of reinterpretation. You know, when something hits you and you would normally react this way, rather than any sort of reaction, just reinterpret, you know, because you can really control the way that you can control your emotions by the way that you think about things. It could be something horrible. It could be something simple. It could be like, you know, kind of don't cry over spilled milk type thing. You know, went to shake up your shaker cup and you didn't realize your top wasn't on all the way, and you got you know, you got protein everywhere, and there's multiple ways of looking at that. There's a bunch of F-bombs that could come, or maybe even just you think F in your head. You're like, oh man, like that wasn't my goal. I didn't want that to happen. You know, I was trying to make a shake and I was trying to get some protein, and maybe I was going too fast. But you can also look at it in a completely different way and say, oh, that just happens sometimes. I screw up here and there. I'm fallible. I mess up. I stub my toe here and there. I forget things here and there. And that's just kind of, that's just the way things go. Or you can even laugh about it. You can say, hey, that was silly. Oh, there we go. He's back.
3 minutes?
Was that slow or quick?
Sometimes I rhyme slow. Sometimes I rhyme quick.
Oh man. Yeah, that was definitely a first wave. There's a second wave that will come. But what were you guys talking about?
Just you pooping.
No. It seemed like Mark was in something right there.
We were talking about that butthole.
Okay.
We're wondering whether it's waxed or whether it's clipped up, or never mind.
I should try and shave it. I've just always been scared to shave it, you know. I had this friend in college who was like, I shave. Like, he's like, he takes a razor, and I was like, wow, really? Soccer teammate.
Yeah, you gotta be careful down there, because then it can get all itchy and weird.
Ugh.
If you cut it and then you gotta poop, ooh, I just imagine that stinging.
I just want to go. I just want to go in for a Brazilian just to see their reaction. Be like, nope, we're closed.
Yeah. Would you imagine like razor burn and then eating something spicy? Like, that's gonna be bad.
No.
You're looking around. Your wife and kids are like, "What are you talking about over there?"
That's pretty much what just happened.
Dude, I don't know if you guys saw, but like on The Rock's Instagram, he had a guy do like Macho Man, and he was drinking The Rock's new vodka or whatever.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny though, because the guy's doing it and he's doing it like super quiet. I mean, Macho Man kind of talked that way a little bit anyway, but I could just picture like the guy's wife or something, or the guy's girlfriend is there, and she's probably like, "What in the hell are you doing?" But he's like trying to film it all quiet and like privately. It was hilarious. So the guy did a great job.
When you're talking about the like spilling your shaker cup and protein everywhere, like 2 days ago, I set my little knockoff Keurig machine, single serve coffee maker, did everything, put the water in it, did coffee, set it, walked away, and I'm like, man, that coffee is really loud today for some reason. That's weird. And then I walk over to it, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to put a cup to catch the coffee.
Oh man.
It was fine, it wasn't a big deal, but yeah, like I totally could have gotten super frustrated and been like, it's gonna be a bad day, like this is a bad start, like blah 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 blah. And then me and my fiance, we just kind of like laughed it off, like, damn, like how did that happen? And it's funny, so like I posted a little something on my Instagram about it, and I got a couple different messages from friends and stuff, and like my buddy Nick was like, yep, I've done that. Somebody else was like, yeah, I just put oatmeal in the microwave and I forgot to put water. And so I'm like,
what happens when that happens?
They just have hot oats.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was up to me to decide, like, was it going to be, like a game breaker, or is it just laugh it off and, Bruce Lee that shit and move on to the next thing?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes me curious to think about something, because I've been getting messages from some people, how we've been talking a lot about like working out at home and how it shouldn't be a problem, and like how great it is, because all of us, I mean, I don't have that much equipment. I'm using a kettlebell, but all of us are doing workouts at home, and it's fine. But I'm getting a lot of messages from people who are like, I just can't motivate myself. The gym was this for me and that for me. And what you were saying, like you didn't let the Keurig thing bother you. I'm thinking about this home deal thing, and I'm just like, how can we help people figure out a way not to let this bother them, and just to do it? Do you have to do it multiple times for it to become a habit and a routine for you? Or do you just have to, like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm just trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I think you go back to what's your interest. If you want to be in good shape, then you should be interested enough to want to do some burpees and some lunges and some push-ups and some things like that. I'd also say that when you feel the resistance, like I would say the very second that you're like, should I, shouldn't I? You should. The second that creeps in, the second you're like, should I just go train, or should I eat? Like you should train, because that if you eat, you might have to poop. And if you know that if you're going to eat, that you might get caught up listening to a podcast or watching a TV show or just relaxing. Like, that like after you eat, you're going to be kind of slowed down. It could be anything, whatever that thing is that you're thinking about doing, like, oh, I should catch up on that TV show from yesterday, or I should probably be training. Just like go and make yourself do it. Also, I'd say, have your training be like play. Like there's no rule that says you have to do 3 sets. There's no rule that says you have to do 3 rounds of anything, or 4 rounds or 5 rounds. There's no rule that says you have to work out for any number of minutes. You could work out for 1 minute and have a great workout. You can say, I'm going to do 1 minute of burpees as hard as I can. And then later today, I'm going to do 1 minute of squats as hard as I can. As long as you did something a couple times during the day, that's plenty of work and plenty of volume. So don't make your workout into this big giant bear that you have to fight every single day. Just keep it as simple as you possibly can. And, just like I always say with Smelly's Kitchen, because I'm not a cook, is that there's no rules. And I think the same thing goes with training. I'm not a certified personal trainer. I never went to school for it. And what I'll tell you is, after 30 years of training and 30 years of lifting, is you don't need to have any rules. The only rule that you might need to follow is you may need to find some interesting ways to challenge yourself, so you stay interested enough that you want to continue to do it. I saw Nsima using the 53-pound kettlebell. I think you first started with something a little lighter, and and then you graduated into using something heavier. That's just a challenge where your mind's like, yeah, I think I can do that. That'd be kind of cool if I made it a little bit more difficult. I mean, you can ante up and make it as difficult as you want, and it could be as simple as you saying, you know what, I'm going to sprint 20 meters, in between doing these kettlebell swings. Then you'll really be, I mean, imagine trying to do a few rounds of that. You'll really be gassed. But just, keep these workouts simple. Try to keep these things simple. There's no reason to have a bunch of rules. When I was using the triad, which is basically a dumbbell type thing, kettlebell type thing, I did a handful of swings. I did a handful of overhead presses. And I was like, I haven't done any of those things in a very long time. So I probably did that for a total of maybe like 12 minutes. It didn't take very long. I was interested enough in it to do it for a little while. And then I was like, you know what, because I haven't done anything like that in a while, I could get pretty sore. And I want to be hungry enough to do it again today. So that's the other piece, is like, if you keep things small and you keep things simple, I'm not saying that they're easy. I'm saying that they're simple. Keep things small, keep things simple. You'll want to always do them because you'll always be hungry to continue to do them. But if you try to smash yourself all in one day, and you try to get fit all in one day, and you try to lose all the body fat in one day and get strong in one day, you're not going to have anything left for tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I think that was so damn useful right there. People just need to. I feel like a lot of people also right now are they're putting workouts in like a bucket. They're not willing to do a few different things. Like okay, you don't have your machines, maybe you don't have your barbell, but like, what else can we just do? I feel like a lot of people are so focused on the pump and muscle, etc., that it's like it's not allowing them to open up potentially to trying a different type of exercise that they might really enjoy. It's a weird situation.
My second workout for quarantine doubles yesterday was I was just playing baseball with my daughter. That's all we did. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to like break out into a crazy sweat right now, but every time the ball comes to me, I'm going to basically do a body weight squat to get it. And then we're out in the sun right now. Like, so again, it wasn't like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily qualify for an actual workout, but like I was fine with not working out to do that, to be there, to be happy and, have fun. And yeah, I think just incorporating like what Mark said, like just making things fun, making things simple and small, so that way you can come back tomorrow and hit it just as hard or harder.
There's nothing more powerful than exercise. And when your back is tight, or your knees kind of hurt, or your mind is just not, I don't know, it's not connected to everything that you're trying to do for the day. A dosage of exercise is like the most powerful fucking thing that you can do. It's amazing. So just understand too that's why you're doing the exercise. You're trying to make yourself feel better, and you're making yourself feel better. I did a bunch of walking and some running yesterday with the weight vest on, right? And so today I woke up and I'm a little bit stiff, and I'm like, okay, I'll go in the hot tub and those kinds of things. Those things help, but it's not even a competition. It's not even fucking close. An ice bath or hot tub or a massage or a PRP injection or stem cells, any of these active release therapy, those are all cool, but they don't come close. Nothing matches exercise. Get a little bit of exercise in. If I just did a set of 20 squats, and if I did 20 push-ups, maybe went back and forth more than once, maybe 2 or 3 times, my back, my knees, my elbows would feel like I'm 20 years old again.
Yeah. And then Mark, you had posted a tweet the other day about how many people are realizing that they were overtraining.
Right.
That was cool. What kind of response did you get?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think a lot of people like retweeted it, and a couple people like kind of joked about it or whatever. But I'm kind of just like shit. Like I'm holding on to some good size, and I really haven't. And I imagine maybe it would take a long time, and maybe I'd have to like not move to end up like losing a bunch of muscle mass. But yeah, I think we spend hours in the gym. We love it. We love the gym. And so we don't mind spending a lot of time in there, but I think it's a lot of maybe some of it's a little bit of wasted time. And when I'm looking at like what I'm doing in comparison now, how much time I'm actually lifting, I'm spending a lot of time exercising because I'm still walking. A weighted vest is great. So anybody that doesn't have a weighted vest, you should look into getting one, because I think you could just go on a walk and continue to hold muscle mass. Like that's pretty sick in my opinion. I think you would want to get one that, if you're over 200 pounds, you probably want one that's, above 20 pounds, probably 30, 40 pounds, probably is probably a good amount of weight. And if you're unfit and you're real heavy, then you probably just want one that's like 10 pounds or something like that. If you're really small, you probably just want one that's like 10 pounds or something like that. But anyway, the thing is like, find exercises that you can do repeatedly. Find exercises that you can have fun with. Maybe you like to ride your bike. Like you don't have to look at riding your bike as not lifting. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of resistance going on when you're riding your freaking bike. There's a lot of resistance going on if you're running. Maybe you don't find that running is like exciting enough. So maybe don't like actually really run. Just do like a run walk, or occasionally rather than just like jog, because jogging's boring. Like it's rare for me to like really jog. I try to usually run. I try to, like get some, I'm not sprinting either, but I try to usually, get going at a pretty good pace. But yeah, I think a lot of people in this case are going to recognize, not just like overtraining necessarily, not like they did way too much to where it sets them backwards, but maybe they did a lot of needless stuff that was just unnecessary, because maybe you can get a lot further ahead with a lot less. That's what I was looking at.
I agree. And like the funny thing that you said in terms of the overtraining thing is there were so many jujitsu people that were like, wow, all of these magical like aches and pains I was feeling are now gone. Like I'm feeling the best I have in years, and it's because you were forced to finally take a little bit of time off and let your body heal.
Well, in jiu-jitsu, I'd imagine it'd be really problematic because on top of doing jiu-jitsu, you're probably trying to exercise in other ways as well. So you're trying to bench press and all this stuff, and you're like, man, my elbows, they really they're dying. And it's like, well, yeah, you're pounding the crap out of them all the time.
Yeah, I think everyone's gonna kind of have the realization of like, man, I was giving, a 15 out of 10 in the gym every day, when really like I'm now giving it like a 6 to an 8, and I'm getting similar or maybe even better results. So it's not that it wasn't doing anything, training so hard, but like, what's it called? The diminishing returns, right? Like now, okay, maybe you don't spend 2.5 hours in the gym, you spend an hour and a half or an hour, and you have an extra, hour to hour and a half to hang out with family or to do more recovery stuff that would definitely go further than killing yourself every day.
What was that thing that you that Matt Wenning wrote?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he said something like if the earlier you recognize how to train like you're 40, the more that you can feel like you're in your 20s, basically, something along those lines. And that's kind of just kind of along the lines of like, just I don't know, just being careful, to not taking like unnecessary risks. But I think that you also probably you probably feel like you need to take those risks sometimes when you're younger.
Yeah, no, it does make me wonder too, though, because like obviously the gym for a lot of people, you want to lift some heavy weight, even if you're not competing. You want to push yourself, but if you're not somebody who competes in something, right? Then how, if you have that mindset of push hard, right, even without competition, how should you back off a little bit? Because at some point there might be no need to push yourself to such a place, if you're not getting ready to hit the platform, or you're not getting ready to hit the stage. Or do you guys just think I'm invalid here? You get what I'm going at right now?
No, you have a great point. Mike Menser, who invented heavy duty training, he got that from Arthur Jones. Arthur Jones is the guy who came up with all the equipment that we use in the gym, basically. Arthur Jones was a fucking genius. All the strength equipment that we have that has a cam on it and that has a cable on it, all that shit came from Arthur Jones. But Arthur Jones recognized, look, all you need to do is go like light, medium, heavy, and you're good. Like that's enough. That's enough. So he also came up with 3 sets. But sets 1 and 2 weren't really anything. And the third set was where you'd go for it. Mike Menser shortcutted that, and he came up with heavy duty training where it was just like 1 set. But Mike Menser, in his many articles, he said that for some reason, the second that people step foot inside of a gym, their IQ gets completely chopped in half. And he's like, I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I don't know where, how this came to be. But he's like, when somebody goes to a library, he's like, they might go there, they might research stuff. They might look at a couple books, and they might be there for 90 minutes or something like that. And they have, maybe because they set their books down and they maybe used the restroom and they did a couple other things, they had about an hour of work. But the person that's in the library, knows that, like, hey, I would be better served by coming back again tomorrow and learning more information, because I can only learn so much. I can only retain so much before there's diminished returns. If I sit here all day and try to consume this stuff, my mind is going to be like numb, and I'm not going to be able to really remember a lot of these things. And so it's kind of like cramming for a test. Like you quickly forget that stuff when you cram for a test. But if you really if you know it and learned it over a longer period of time, you would be better off learn it in shorter bursts. And I think your body just always works that way. And I think that you have to realize there's no studies on a lot of this stuff. Like, what would be, Herschel Walker used to swear that he did 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 sit-ups every day. And I mean, that no one in the history of football was more jacked than Herschel Walker. He was an anomaly. He was outstanding. So I think that we don't really know. Like, somebody could come along and have some muscle size and definition that we've never seen before, and they could be using sets of 50 with 100 pounds in their back. They could be benching 100 pounds for sets of 50 and have a conditioning that we've never seen before. We don't know. Like, the truth is people are too scared to try that, because we kind of have an idea that, hey, look, if you do sets of 50, you're probably going to be so sore that you can't really continually work out like that all the time. But again, we don't really know. And that's how there's so many different training methods out there. I remember talking with Stan Efferding more recently. I was like, what kind of weight can you use on a squat to like maintain your size? Like, what's the lowest amount of weight? He was like, I think like 5 or 6 plates. And I was like, really? I was like, I think I can get along just fine with just using like 2 plates. I mean, I don't know what kind of working out you're doing, but I think I can, and Stan, he's in amazing shape and former pro bodybuilder and stuff, but like, I just don't think that that's true. Maybe to stimulate muscle growth in the first place, maybe you have to do some weird, wacky shit that because most people that are jacked have done weird, wacky shit over the years, whether it be 20 sets of legs or whether it be, strapping up 600 pounds on the bar. They most likely have done something weird or crazy along the way. But again, like I said, I don't think we really know.
Yeah. I mean, if you just, it's something that's always amazed me is calisthenics guys that do calisthenics, and then they swear, like, I've only done body weight stuff up until this time, but they're big and they're jacked, and they do push-ups, bar dips, pull-ups, maybe like some, like if they do legs, okay, maybe they do some body weight squats or something or whatever. But either way, by just using their body weight, they're jacked. They have a lot of muscle definition, and they're lean, and they just do high rep body weight work. So like, there's absolutely no reason that you can't do some body weight stuff and make progress. Because if you just focus on progressing in the body weight stuff, like most of us, including myself, I'm good at pull-ups, but I can definitely improve. If you get one of the pull-up bars for your door and you're like, I have a goal of being able to do 20 nonstop pull-ups during this quarantine, and I'm going to do enough pull-up volume every day to be able to get there. At the point that you're able to do 20 pull-ups, your back has grown. Your back's going to be bigger.
Yeah, you're going to have adaptation from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've like never spoken to any of those like calisthenic guys, but are they ever like in pain? Like, do they ever have any like back problems?
I like the ones that I've known, they don't really have to deal with too much stuff like that, unless maybe they're doing too many dips, or it is possible to go to do too much, but you have to do a lot to do too much in that type of situation, because everything's unloaded.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to body weight exercises, there's so many different variations of it. So if you do something on one leg, then there's maybe potential to overstress the knee. You know, if you're doing something, it's still going to be fairly light, you know. But I was on a podcast recently where these guys have a calisthenics podcast, and they have a calisthenics website, and they show you how to do all these different crazy ninja moves and shit like that. But they were basically, they were saying they got to kind of put calisthenics, sometimes they have to differentiate between the two things, because they will use weighted stuff, you know, like they'll do weighted dips, they'll do weighted pull-ups. A lot of people that follow them are like, hey, like, you know, when are we going to program more, you know, weighted pull-ups? And they're like, well, this is, you know, the true calisthenics is just with your body weight, you know. So they're always trying to, like, you know, kind of preach back to that. That's their basic core competency is mainly just body weight exercises. But, you know, if you do a body weight squat, you might not find that to be difficult, right? But if you do body weight squats and you superset it with a wall sit, now you're in a lot of pain, you know. Or there's all kinds of weird stuff that you can do, and I don't have any idea why it hurts so bad. But like, my football coach used to have us fold up a piece of wood, roll it up like in a towel, and just push it along the court, the basketball court. And like, anytime it was like raining or snowing too much outside to go outside and do our practice, that was what we did. And it fucking kills, because like, you can't figure out how to push the board. Like you push it like you're on all fours, basically. You can't figure out how to push the board without it sliding all over the place. And so it continues to slide forward, and your triceps are on fire the entire time. The other thing he'd have us do is sometimes we'd take towels like that were bigger than the towels we used for that, and we would just shake out the towels as hard as we could. It's almost like a battle rope. Just take a towel, and you can do the same thing with like a giant blanket. Take the biggest blanket in your house, or like I don't know if anybody has a duvet, like a fluffy blanket type thing that's heavy. And you pick that bitch up and you keep swirling it around, your shoulders and your arms and stuff will be on fire.
Toast. Yeah, it'll be toast.
That's actually great. We got to film that.
Me wrestling a duvet cover. First, I got to explain what a duvet is to everybody, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Duvet is, but I guess it's I don't know. It's a cool blanket. That's my assumption. But yeah, peeps, like, please. Don't tell us anymore that you don't have the motivation to work out. Please get some sleep and then work out the next day. Just make a decision to do something.
Yeah, and remember that, you know, lack of motivation is just lack of interest. So if you're saying that you want to be in shape, but you're saying you're lacking motivation to exercise, then you're lying to yourself, and you need to reevaluate and find things that you like. Just make it that easy. Just like, what are some things? Okay, you hate lunges, and don't do them. You know, like it would be a nice idea if you did a couple of things that you hated, because it's important to challenge yourself. And the thing that you don't want to do is probably challenging. That's probably why you don't want to do it. But hey, if you don't want to do it, you want to be a baby about it, then that's fine as well. I fall into that trap. I think most people do. We want to do stuff that is fun and comfortable. Find a way to make it fun, whatever way that would be for you. You know, see if you can encourage somebody else to do it. Like, normally I don't ever work out with my wife, but we're just doing body weight stuff, so it's simple, it's easy, and so there we are. We're working out together, and it's fun.
Yep. Nsima, you've been sharing a lot of fat loss information on your Instagram. Can you share a little bit of that with us today?
I don't like this at all, because this guy doesn't have any fat. So how, right?
Yeah.
You got no fat to lose. So
yeah.
What do you know about fat loss over there?
Well, I don't know.
Kind of like those head and shoulders commercials. You don't have any. Yeah, you don't have, but you don't have any dandruff. Then they're like, oh, exactly.
No, man. Nah, because like I was realizing, there's a lot of stuff that yourself and myself we've been doing in these past few years, that has allowed me to like keep body weight or body fat off, because in the past, like I would lose body fat for shows or something, and then after the show I couldn't really maintain that physique. I'd try my hardest, but it was just too tough because I was always too hungry, or I would binge too much because my food habits weren't good. Um, and it was only like these last few years that I guess, with us talking so much on the podcast and talking to all these guests and implementing some of the habits that they talk about, like the simple thing that John Berardi told us about chewing our food, that's something that makes a big difference. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess the reason why I'm doing this and some of my clients are doing this is because there's habits that are there that maybe we don't really even think about, just certain things that we just now do that allow us to keep it off without. I don't track anymore. I don't track anything anymore, but I haven't gotten fat. Quarantine, I haven't gotten fat. And I just want to like share those habits with people. So instead of people trying to focus on like tricks or having to track, maybe they could try and figure out the bad habits they have and then reroute those bad habits with good habits and make the changes.
Let's see. Let's kind of maybe run through a couple of things. I'll mention a couple of things and maybe you can go through them fairly quickly. And let's see if we can get through a couple of things that you think would help with fat loss, or how you utilize it to help promote fat loss. I know you're a big fan of sleep, so just elaborate a little bit on sleep.
You burn a ton of fat when you're asleep. And like, I mean, there's been a bunch of research done where there were two groups of people that are dieting. One has a lack of sleep, and another group gets a good amount of sleep every single night. The group that has a lack of sleep, first off, didn't lose as much weight, but the weight they lost, a lot more of it was muscle tissue versus being body fat. The group that got adequate amounts of sleep lost more weight, but also, and a bigger percentage of that weight loss was body fat. So it's like, it's the same thing if you want to gain muscle. You won't gain as much good muscle if you're not getting rest versus if you are. So that, and then the other thing about sleep is that it informs your decisions during the day. Like definitely when I'm not rested, I'm more prone to making bad decisions, and I can feel that I'm craving crappier food when I'm not sleepy, or when I'm not rested. So I just think that it's at the top because it kind of trickles down into everything else that you're trying to do during the day.
If you could take a pill that made you make the right decision all the time, that would be the ultimate thing, right? And I think just getting proper rest can really be important, and just making sure you're not overdoing it with your exercise. I'm learning that I had a couple days where I ran, pretty far, and it didn't work, like, because my body's like, yo, like, and then I find myself, eating way more than normal. So I'm like, all right, well, let me find a happy medium, because for everything that I try to do on this side of the seesaw, I'm really moving that thing up and down like crazy, and I should just probably keep it all even keel. How would you utilize water to maybe help accelerate fat loss?
Dude, okay, so I've been really loving the Keto Vitals thing that you shared with us over at Bodega Bay. I bought a pack of that. But I think the first thing about water, and Stan talks about this a lot, Stan Efferding, is that a lot of people don't hydrate themselves well because they may drink a lot of water, but they're lacking sodium, right? So that's why he has people salt their water. But a big thing, and I still make this mistake to this day sometimes if I'm just working and I forget to drink water, is you're going to mistake being thirsty for being hungry, especially because a lot of us have the habit of like maybe not carrying water around us when we're at work or whatever. So we're going through the day and we're like, fuck, I'm just so hungry. But if you were to drink like a glass or two of maybe some water, you'd be chill. You'd be good. And then the electrolytes are such a dope hack, because if you fast like us, right, they have no calories, but they give you that sodium, potassium, magnesium that you need. And you end up you get hydrated better. So you feel better. You don't feel as depleted, and it tastes good. So yeah, there's the Perfect Keto electrolytes. And then there's also like liquid electrolytes, like from companies like Element and Keto Vitals. And I've been digging those.
How would you utilize protein?
Protein, like protein shakes, or protein from food?
Yeah, just protein in general. Yeah, protein food. I guess like a protein shake. We talk about how protein can really kind of help blunt your appetite quite a bit. But I don't know, protein shakes. I don't think not that they're harmful in any way, but I don't think they help nearly as much.
Not to the same level as like if you could eat some protein. I haven't done the boiled eggs thing in a while because just haven't needed it. But like you talked about this. I don't know if it was you that coined this or Ted Neiman, protein leveraging. I don't know who.
Yeah, I think it came out of some studies. But Ted Neiman is the one who made it popular. Yeah.
You see, all these fucking guests that we've had on have just like sprinkled shit in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, having protein as the main thing in your first meal, or making, like, what I do sometimes like to do is if I am feeling super hungry and I don't have time to cook, I will make a protein shake, because a protein shake kind of like it fills you up a little bit, and then you don't crave as much as you typically would if you didn't have that shake. So I personally just make sure protein is the biggest part of my plate, because it fills you up more. Like, my whole goal, I love to feel full when I eat. Okay, I'm just a glutton. Okay, and if I don't feel full, if I don't eat foods that are making me full, then I'm not going to be satisfied, and I'm just going to eat more. So I eat a lot of protein.
And on that same note, you might look at food differently when you start to think in those terms. So protein first, and then when it comes to a carbohydrate, I know a lot of people like rice, but I don't know about you guys, but I can run through a shit ton of rice. Like rice is like an aphrodisiac of food. Like it makes you fucking crazy for more food, right? And so rice might be great if you're somebody that's trying to pack on size, but I would say try to go with a potato rather than rice. I also, what I like about a potato, now you can find huge potatoes sometimes, but it's like a kind of a serving size, so it helps with your control there as well. What have you noticed with vegetables? How can vegetables help you?
Well, I don't fuck with vegetables that much, but I did mention it in the series because a lot of people, like, they want to eat their carbohydrates, like the potatoes that you just mentioned, and they should be eating some vegetables because it can help them feel full, especially fibrous vegetables. And this is the same thing. You have to look through the lens of feeling satisfied when you eat versus, yeah, you want to enjoy your food too, but you can make all these foods enjoyable in some way, but they also have to satiate you, because if you don't satiate you, you're going to overeat it. You're going to eat too many calories. So like on the note of like rice, right? I do have rice in the house, but I have rice because at this point I'm able to control the amount of rice I eat. I made a note that if you're not able, like if you end up overeating rice a lot, maybe it's just not the best carb to keep in the house. Maybe you should figure out something that does have more fiber, and maybe adding some vegetables in your plate that do have some fiber to also, again, help satiate you. But like something like carrots, right? Carrots don't have to be not tasty. You could fry some of that shit up in some butter with the food that you're making, right? And then they caramelize, and then they're all like, you can make these things good, but they can still fill you up.
Something real easy I did the other day is I just had some canned green beans, and I just threw them in a pot and cooked them up, and I ate them with some chicken. Now, that's not the sexiest meal of all time, but when you eat the two things together, like I don't really love chicken all that much, and so when you eat the two things together, at least you have something kind of like wet with the food that you're eating, because chicken is normally fairly dry. So whatever way you have to figure it out, maybe some cooked spinach. I know cooked spinach like gives people a headache because you cook this giant thing of spinach, and then it somehow turns into this little tiny pile of spinach, and
you legit eat it in one bite after that.
Yeah, you're so confused. You're like, I just used like 3 bags of spinach and I got nowhere. But whatever way you need to do it. Do you eat fruit?
Yeah. So like, me and my girlfriend were talking about this because like fruit these days is like, it's good enough to be like a dessert. I love pineapples and watermelons. Okay, don't make any jokes there. Everybody likes watermelons, so don't start.
Oh, I thought you were gonna talk about the pineapples.
Nope. I know there's some YouTube livers that are like, hey, watermelon. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, but that stuff's like, and I eat some oranges here and there, but like fruit's like a dessert. I like fruit because yeah, there's some sugar, but it changes the lens of like you wanting to eat a lot of ice cream for dessert or something like that to like, oh wow, let's have some fruit because it has sugar, it's sweet, and that's what desserts used to be. Like that's what treats used to be. It used to just be you ate some fruit. Now you eat.
Isn't that wild? If you think about it, in nature, you wouldn't find anything sweet. I know that sugar comes from nature as well, but like you wouldn't, if it was thousands of years ago, you would only know savory foods and maybe, maybe we'd have some salt, but you'd have fat and protein and salt. And it would be really rare to come across anything sweet, except for in an occasion where you would come across some fruit if it's like certain times a year. And could you imagine like what that would be like, finding a peach or a nectarine or something like that? Like when you'd be like, oh my God, you'd eat like thousands of them probably, and just sit there and your stomach would probably hurt like
you know what I'm so curious about though, because I've heard about like fruit being different hundreds of years ago. I wonder like if a peach still, like if it was as sweet as today's peach,
right?
Or if how sweet was it? Because we've done some shit to some of our fruits to make it super sweet,
Oh yeah, you ever see the size of like apples and stuff like that sometimes in the store, or like an orange? You're like, oh my God, that orange looks like a goddamn grapefruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, holy shit, the thing's huge.
Strawberries too, like Mother's Day's coming up, and like Sherry's berries or whatever, like they have like gigantic strawberries, when like natural ones, they were like the size of like your like fingernail, like they're tiny.
And you can also, I mean, if you want to just go a little bit of a fat boy route, buy some like heavy whipping cream or something like that, and throw that on your on some of your fruit. I've mentioned it before, like you could have like a fruit salad. You get a bunch of different fruit together and throw some cinnamon on it. I mean, it kind of tastes it. It's weird because it like amplifies the sweetness somehow. I don't know how that works, but it makes it absolutely delicious. What about from an exercise perspective? Is there anything specific that you do or have done or have clients do to kind of target fat loss?
That's actually honestly why I'm so happy about this damn quarantine, because I've been realizing that like as far as exercise is concerned, you really just need to figure out what are the things that I kind of like to do, just kind of like what we were just talking about. A lot of the individuals that come to me, like they're trying to maintain muscle, they're trying to gain muscle, but there are people I work with that are just like people that are just wanting to lose fat. They're not committed to training for strength. They just want to lose body fat and be toned and defined, right? So you just got to like do some sort of resistance training and potentially some sort of cardio that you like or that you can handle. So the stuff that, the stuff that we honestly just did this weekend together, right? Where we went from thrusters to jump rope to ball slams to whatever that has a resistance aspect and has a cardiovascular aspect. I feel like it's good to have both. Like you don't have to do cardio to lose fat. You could just eat less food, right? But cardio is healthy for you to do for your heart and just for your overall health. Same thing with resistance training. You don't have to resistance train to lose fat, but it helps you maintain a lot of muscle, and it helps you hold on to muscle as you're losing body fat, so that as you're losing weight, you're losing more fat than muscle. So if you're doing just something to maintain the amount of muscle you have on your frame, and you're not eating a crazy amount of food and you're in a deficit, you'll be losing a lot more fat than you will be muscle. That's just the big concept to think about exercise, because most people that exercise, including ourselves a lot, like with the stuff we do out here, we're not burning that many calories, man. Like, like we're in like a 15-minute EMOM or whatever, maybe we burned 300 and something calories.
Maybe. And have you noticed for yourself that your heart rate is up a little higher than typical workouts? I know that you work out fast. I've seen you like deadlift before, and there's 2 plates on the bar. Next thing I know, there's 6. Like, so you get through your work quickly. You're in good shape. You're in good enough shape to do that. But normally when I see at super training, like when you're doing pull-ups, you're doing pull-ups. When you're doing bent over rows, you're doing bent over rows. And I usually don't see you doing a lot of stuff in between unless it's like the smaller muscle groups. But now it looks like everything you do is like you're maybe doing the left side, then you're doing the right side, and or you're kind of like supersetting or doing triplets or CrossFit style workouts.
These days I really try to keep it moving. I try to like and with movements I try to do antagonists. So like if I'm going to be doing a push, I'm going to be doing a pull right after that. So maybe I'll go from pull-ups to a dumbbell press, or pull-ups to push-ups, because when you're doing pulling movements, it doesn't mess up too much with pushing movements. And I just try to keep it moving during my workouts. I don't like standing around that much anymore, because like my goal now is like I can still gain muscle with what I'm doing.
Well, you don't have jujitsu at the moment, and so when you go back, you don't want to be gassed, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be gassed either when I get back, because of like all the stuff we've been doing. But
everybody else will be.
Hey man, if there, I feel like there's some of my jujitsu classmates. They're probably getting at it right now. I hope they are at least. But yeah, no, I just keep it moving during the workout. I don't like to take much rest because I've been realizing also, some people spend 2 hours or whatever in the gym. I used to spend like an hour, 32 hours in the gym. I can't be doing that often. I really can't. I got to get in a really good workout by doing as much as I can in a period of time, and then I got to get moving.
Some simple things that can really get your heart rate cranking. So like, I know we like doing curls and lateral raises and those kinds of things, but you can still keep your workout super simple. Let's just say that you only had 20-pound dumbbells. Well, you can do a set of curls. You do a set of, let's say 20-pound dumbbells aren't that challenging for you. So maybe you do 20 or 25 reps. In between that, hit up 5 burpees, in between each set of it. And after you completed maybe 4 sets, you've now done 20 burpees. Your heart rate's going to be through the roof. Any sort of like bounding, any sort of like split jumps, any sort of box jumps, anything that you can jump on that's stable and that's not going to, fall and end up killing yourself on. Any of those things would be a good idea. You can throw something, you can throw a med ball, you can throw, some sort of heavy object that you have. It could be, as long as you're not going to hit anybody else in the head, you can throw a giant like rock or something like that, whatever you got, but you can do explosive movements in between some bodybuilding movements, which some people might find to be really fun. And if you're really running out of ideas, you can simply just sprint. You can do a movement and then you can sprint. You can even do, especially if you have some grass, it's kind of harder to do on blacktop, but if you have some grass, you can do like a suicide drill, where you run 10, 15 yards and you run 10, 15 yards back, and you can kind of run shorter distances back and forth until you've kind of completed that. But there's so many options where you don't need equipment, body weight squats. You can turn a simple body weight squat into like a jump. You jump at the top of that body weight squat and you put your arms overhead like you're reaching for the sky. And now you got something that really is going to cost you a lot from a metabolic perspective, going to keep your heart rate really elevated. So I think something that has been motivating to me has just been monitoring my heart rate. As I take a look at that and it starts to go down, once it gets down like into the 90s or so, then I'm like, oh shit, I better keep going. Or it just depends on the day. I might keep it above 120 for the whole workout. And that's been really fun for me. And it's been a way to, rather than me just being like, oh, when I feel good, I'm just going to go again. Cause normally I would take 20 minutes, so yeah. This makes me more productive and helps me get through a lot more work.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything like for you these days, is there anything that you think that are just habits that people should have because like the whole reason I'm making this series is because a lot of people lose fat and then they gain it all back. Like a guy messaged me, he's like, yeah, I do shows, I get lean, but I always gain like 30 something pounds back. Like I can't maintain this fat loss. I think for both of us, or at least like for me, one thing that does help is fasting. Like that's helped me so much with being able to control hunger. And we've had a lot of guests talk about the negatives and the positives of it. But I think if everybody implemented some sort of, it doesn't have to be 24 hours, but some sort of restricting the amount of time that you eat and being hungry for a little bit of time, like being able to handle the feeling of being hungry, because not many people can do that. That puts so much power in your hands.
I think fasting is an amazing tool to utilize, and I use it in so many different ways. Like today, rather than a regular fast, I'm just doing a liquid fast. So I had an iced coffee this morning that had some protein in it. It's just like I wake up and I'm like, oh, I feel like having a coffee with some protein powder in it. And that's like, as dumb as that is, that's exciting for me. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like that's a lot more fun than just not eating anything or just having black coffee. And then tomorrow I'll probably be back to doing like a regular fast. I switch it up back and forth. Just with your fasting, just, make sure it doesn't accumulate, make sure it doesn't sit on you too much. Like if you feeling woozy during your workouts or something like that, then that you're probably overdoing it. But I think fasting is really good. And I think this idea of there's a book called Eat, Bake, and Don't Jog, which is a really good book. And it's like barely a book. It's more like a little manual. But the guy in the book, he basically just says, don't treat exercise as like a thing. Like just treat it as more like it's as important as you brushing your teeth. It's as important as you taking a shower. Like, just make sure that it happens every day. Don't wait to be motivated. Don't wait for, some cool speech from David Goggins and or motivational video or whatever. Just go and do, but make sure that you don't make it such a big thing that you think you shouldn't need to be motivated to go do it. You should be interested in enough in doing it. And when you break it out into smaller chunks, you break it out into smaller things, then it should be something that's simple to do. Like yesterday, I did 40 push-ups and 40 squats, I think like 5 or 6 times throughout the day, along with, I had a normal workout in the morning. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, there's not a lot of reasons. I can't think of any excuses right now to where I don't do this forever. Like this makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's not the same amount of reps or whatever. Maybe it's a little bit less, but just to do 20 squats on my couch, before I eat dinner, it doesn't hurt me at all. It feels good. Like it makes my body feel good. And maybe even somebody could argue and say, hey, that could help with nutrient partitioning. That could help when you have the carbohydrates. It can help the carbohydrates get into the right spots rather than maybe potentially ending up, somewhere else. So I just think that the main thing is just to not think of exercise as a thing. You don't need special equipment. You don't need special clothing. Like you can just fucking do it in your jeans or whatever. Like, just don't always make it out into a big old ordeal.
Yeah. We really don't need a gym right now. That a lot of what you just said. There's a client I'm literally gonna send a voice message to you after we get off this call, because there's like so much that I was like, I need to talk to her about that. So that's dope.
Yeah, and like, again, if something feels challenging to somebody, I know I'm just like talking about push-ups. I know for some people, push-ups don't feel great. One, you can get a slingshot push-up from markbellslingshot.com.
Saving my AC joint, like quite literally. I'm using that all the time.
And then another thing would be, scale it. Scale the exercise. Like, just, on your couch, do your push-ups off your couch so you're on an angle. Even if you're gifted at lifting, and sometimes you're just like, I don't feel like doing that because it's gonna bug my elbow or my shoulder or whatever. Scale it down to where it's so simple. Maybe do your squats super, super high just because they normally bug your knee when you go too low, or your ankle or whatever it is. Make it just so simple that it's something that you do. Just get it done, because it's as simple as brushing your teeth. It's as simple as taking a shower.
And I like what you've said in the past about kind of almost tricking yourself. Like yesterday, I woke up, I was tired. I didn't get really good sleep. And so I walked to my gym room, and I'm like, I'm just gonna, actually, even before that, like as I'm getting out of bed, I'm like, I don't know if I want to lift anything right now. I'm just gonna get up, and I'll probably just get on the treadmill and just do like a simple like walk, hike type thing, just to get myself up. And then when I got to the looking at the weights, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hit those up too. Like, it's just one of those things where like you kind of make a deal with yourself to just to get into the game, and then all of a sudden you're in the game, and then you're crushing it.
All right, man, I got to hop on into another poop cast. You want to take us on out of here?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for checking out this podcast, especially if you're live on the live stream. So today's April 30th. Today's the last day that you could take advantage of the 20% off the Slingshot and Hip Circle combo. So please head over to markbellslingshot.com and take advantage of that today, because it is the last day that you can get that deal. Please follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My IG is at I am Andrew Z. And Nsima, where you at?
At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark?
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. I got a podcast to do with our boy Phil DeRue today, so I'm fired up for that.
Dope.
All right, everybody, have a good one. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch y'all later.
Catch y'all.